Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Singapore Geospatial Week Plus 2020, an event organized by GeoWorks, Singapore Land Authority's Geospatial Industry Center. So today we'll have another speaker from Firma Technologies. And let me introduce you to Mr. Lucas Tsai. He's a software engineer with Firma Technologies, and he'll be speaking about remote building management. Over to you, Lucas.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lucas from Firma Technologies. Hope everybody can hear me clearly. So I'm the software engineer of Firma Technologies. I actually just joined the company about two months ago. And I'm here to share with you guys what we do and actually what we aim to achieve. So I'll carry on my slides. Oh, give me a sec, someone else is still sharing. Yep, okay, cool. All right, so I hope everybody can see the slides. So let me start. So Firma Technology is actually, we aim to achieve, to solve infrastructure problems with artificial intelligence. So we aim to be the global leader to actually achieve, this artificial intelligence with infrastructure problems. So as a global leader, what we mean by this? So global leader for AI analytics to solve infrastructure problems. So what we do for Firma Technologies is actually we run with 3D modeling and to be able to host models and analyze these models for structural engineers and building inspectors or asset management people. So we aim to achieve to change the way asset management is. So what do I mean by this? For building inspection and management, right? For local market, for non-residential, it'll be 5 years. So non-residential buildings will be every 5 years, there'll be a building inspection or management. For residential buildings, for example, like HDB, is actually every 10 years. This is in the local market, which is Singapore. For our clients, Firma Technologies, we work with a lot of clients in the European region, but mostly in Germany. So now you must be thinking, what's building inspection and management? So I'm just going to give a short description of what it is. So as you can see the photo on the left here, this guy, he's actually a building inspector. This is like the old school method of actually inspecting buildings. It's actually very time consuming. And as you can see, if the asset is really huge, it's going to be, there's going to be like a safety issue as well. So we spoke to our international clients in Germany and the European region. They actually say they still use these labor-intensive methods to actually monitor their assets and actually to inspect their buildings. So what Firma is aiming to achieve and to work with third-party data capturing companies, for example, like drone companies, we aim to achieve something like this. So what I mean by this? So we use the drones to actually capture maybe large infrastructure. For example, if it's in the local market, we want to be able to capture the whole building, for example, like HDB. And then we'll actually model this out by using videos. So we'll take videos and images and actually render out a 3D model, which would be easily viewed by anyone throughout the world on our 3D hosting platform. So what else do we do on top of that? We actually use our own AI technology, our own artificial intelligence to actually look for defects and to find errors within the structure. So how is this better? So we aim to actually achieve where we get, let me think. We actually want to reduce the amount of time for the inspection and increase the amount of time where they have for decision making during this whole process, so that the architectural engineers can come look at all these defects and make sure everything is still a-okay, and if the defects are actually really there. So this is what our artificial intelligence is trying to do. So building failures. So we actually not limited to only buildings. We actually work with solar panels, bridges, and wind turbines as well. And if your structure itself has many cracks and actually plants growing on it already, you should call a building inspector, or your building needs to be maintained. So how do we actually add on, or how do we find out these failures and get this data? We work with a data capturing solutions, for example, like a third-party program, like I said just now, company, which is drone companies or any company that actually collects a lot of data and photos of infrastructure or any kind of asset you have. So after collecting all this data, we process and analyze it, and then we render out and churn out a third layer on top of the 3D model to find your defects. I'll explain later on when I have a product demo, but I'll give you a pilot example of a pilot program we actually just did recently. It's with solar panels. So you must be wondering, what's this photo? This image is actually thermal imaging on top of solar panels. So how does this work with AI technology and Firma Technology? What did we do? In Firma Technology, we actually train an AI with about 50 to 100 images using thermal imaging to detect defected or spoiled solar panels. So how does this work? Just let me give you a brief example. So if solar panels on a thermal imaging, if they render out heat spots, so like red dots on top of the solar panel, means there's actually a defect. So our hit rate for this is actually about 80%. Is because we have a lot of images or a lot of solar panels in one image for the AI to learn and train on. So the more images we have, or the more solar panels we have on an image or video, we'll be able to produce better results. Yep. So to further explain what we actually do, so as you can see, sorry, I can't give you the location, so I actually blanked it out. It's confidential. So this is actually one of our pilot programs with a large farm where they have actually solar panels layered on top of everywhere around the farm. So what we do is actually we can't pinpoint each specific solar panel, but we can give you an area of which solar panel is actually broken. Like, let's say, so over here, what we actually aim to do is where we want to give the asset manager more time to actually look for these problems more than actually walking the ground. Is because, let's say we send a drone over to this large area, we'll be able to detect which solar panels is defected and pinpoint it on the map itself to give the location to these asset managers, so that they can just go down and actually look at these defects and solve the solution more effectively and more cost efficiently. So after explaining to you guys about process analytics and what Firma Technology does for these analysis, I'd like to show you guys what we actually do, which is the 3D modeling for asset managers. So hosting, viewing, archiving, and sharing. So as you can see, it's actually just a short GIF. I'll give you all a bigger tour and through our product later on. So how does this 3D model help, or this platform help asset managers, or can be product managers as well? Is because, let's say, even Gmail, we have like recently I had a problem sending over slides even though I compressed it because the file is too big. So that's the issue, if you want to share big files throughout the world, or actually anyone anywhere. So what our hosting platform does is actually we host these models on our cloud services to be able to share these data internationally. So let's say if you have a client in US or you have a client in Europe itself, they will have no issue viewing this model. So the solution we actually want to solve is actually the problem of shipping over large data models or 3D models. So now you must be thinking, with this 3D model, how do we layer on top artificial intelligence or machine learning itself? As you can see from here, this is just an image. I'll show you all the product later on. So as you can see, this is actually a vase with all these keyframes around. So each keyframe represents a minor defect on the vase itself. So why am I showing you a vase? I've been talking about infrastructure and stuff like that. So we don't have a pilot program for very big infrastructure currently, and we're actually working on doing that. So we're actually using small products first. For example, like it can be watches, it can be vase, it can be any product you have. So for this one over here, we're actually analyzing the cracks on the vase to see if our crack analysis is actually accurate enough for it. So here's another image. All right, give me a second. Give me a sec and I will share the product itself. All right, cool. Give me a sec. I'll answer the questions later. Give me a sec, all right? Okay, so as you can see, this is actually our product right here. This is our application itself. And as you can see, what we actually aim to do is actually we'll be able to look inside the vase and outside the vase or around it. It's like really a whole 3D model. And it's like we want to give it a physical view so that you can view it like anywhere around the world and it looks like you're looking at a real product itself. So and if we are talking about AI and all these kind of things, right? So what we did here is we lay on top of AI technology to actually look for aligned cracks, alligator cracks, and reinforced cracks. So for our product, for this crack analysis or this artificial intelligence for cracks, right, is actually is roughly quite accurate, but it's not as accurate as a solar panel. It's because for cracks it's more dynamic, you know, how cracks can always might be similar here and there because it might have a minor change or stuff like that. So the percentage we get out of this is actually more spread out. So for example, let's say we find a crack, they'll be like, okay, align crack 60%, and then maybe alligator crack 30%. So how we as Firma Technology want to help structural engineers or building inspectors is that we reduce their time to guess what issue or what defect there is on the product itself. So this is what we aim to achieve with the smaller ones now. But in the future, we are looking at bigger buildings, and we're actually starting our pilot programs in Germany right now to look for drone companies and companies that are willing to allow us to use their buildings as data source. Mm-hmm. And that's all I have for Firma Technologies and what we have and what our product is capable of. There we go, here we go. And if you have any more questions, you can always contact me at Lucas Tsai at Firma Technologies, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And I'll do my best to share with you and answer all your questions about Firma Technology. Mm-hmm. I hope thank you guys for like taking the time to come down here and like listen to Firma Technologies and what we have. And,
sorry, Lucas. I think there are two questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
First question is, what's the resolution of your 3D models?
Okay, so for our 3D models, right, we actually use point cloud. So it's actually more, it's not really like an image. It's really like every point is actually rendered to look like the product itself. As you can see, let me share with you the product one more time. Okay, so Justin, right? So you look at even though like from far now, you think it's like an image, right? But actually every single point, every keyframe is a point within being rendered. That's how we use the AI analytics to mark out like which position or where the issue is. Yeah, I hope I answer your question, Justin. Okay, so
next question is how mature is your AI?
Yeah, so for actually, okay, the first one we actually have, the solar panel one, right, is that one's more mature than the crack analysis actually. It's because we haven't found like a client that's willing to give us you know, like a big product to actually continue analyzing on. So we're actually still growing and maturing our AI for crack analysis. Is because each crack is very, 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 very dynamic. So it's actually quite difficult to train and takes many multiple layers and multiple stages for developing the AI. So in short, for our crack analysis, we're actually still very early on in stage. It's still very young, and we hope to be able to push on and be able to look for more things other than cracks. So like maybe like structural integrity and stuff like that as well. But that's later on in the later on for Firma's future. Yep.
Okay, there's another question. Your AI involved reinforced learning for crack analysis?
Yes. So doing for like explaining how much I was answering to Justin as well. So this crack analysis is still very young. So we're actually still looking into it to be able to get more data so that we can train this AI more efficiently and more reliable. We don't want to just keep feeding like maybe like fake data and stuff like that as well, because we want to use this infrastructure platform or this AI analytic platform like in a real life situation to deal with buildings and um, structural assets. So that's why it's difficult, because if we don't get real data, we might not be able to process it with complete accuracy. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. We have another question, which is a couple of questions actually. Has Firma Technologies conducted any pilots in Singapore?
Mm.
And the second question is, when does Firma Tech plan to extend the analysis on cracks to buildings?
Mhm. Okay, so we in Singapore currently we have not conducted any pilot programs. We're actually still looking into it. We're trying to get like private sectors to actually allow us to look at like maybe a small structure first, or maybe start with houses to actually look at structure and the structural integrity or the issue with it. So in general in Singapore we are not there yet. We haven't started any pilot program, but we are based mostly in Germany and the European region. Yep. So the next question, we plan to extend our analysis on cracks to buildings. We're actually starting that now because of the pilot program we have in Germany. So it's confidential, but I would love to show you guys, but I can't. But how it works is like we're trying to look for minor cracks and minor deficiencies now. So if, for example, we're trying to teach our AI to look at maybe like you know how sometimes buildings have their paint worn off or starts cracking and stuff like that. So that's what we're actually training our AI on now, to look for um, minor deficiencies first before looking into the bigger problems of the building. I hope that answers your question. Yep.
Okay, there's another question. I think it popped up in the chat actually.
Mm.
What is the frequency of updating?
So the what's the frequency of data updating, right? So as long as we for our pilot program right now, they are trying to give us data weekly, but sometimes it's very difficult. So most of the time we try to update our data or analytics every 2 to 3 weeks. That's why we are growing the AI a bit slowly, because of the data required for it. Yeah, CYC. Mhm.
Okay, any more questions from
Okay,
the
one more.
audience?
I think Justin has one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, question is, are you viewing the 3D models as outline point clouds? .las files online are very large in size.
Yeah, we're actually using more OBJ files right now. LAS also, we sometimes use it, depends on how it works and like what we get from the client itself or how we render it out. But most of the time, we're currently using OBJ. If that answers your question. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very large file. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any more questions?
Yep, we got a couple more from CYC. Does the client need special program to view the cloud data?
So okay, depends on, let's say for the first one, right? CYC does any special program. They just need to contact Firma Technologies, and then we'll create an account for you guys to be able to test this product out. If you already have an OBJ or LS, or you have a asset management you already have or product, we'll be able to store it up and we actually load this data out. And we're not using our own servers currently. We're actually using third party cloud to be able to access the data. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
So
next question. So is your viewer a
Mm.
Unity-based system?
So we started off with Unity at first actually, but currently we are not using Unity. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not a Unity-based system. Yeah. We're using let me think. We're using we okay can't remember what system we're using right now. Sorry, I can't answer that question. I'll get back to you, Justin, about that. Yeah, but I know we started off with Unity, but we shifted off to something else. Yeah, I will go and find out and I'll let you know about it.
Yeah. So I think Lucas, you flashed the email earlier on, right?
Yeah. Let me
So
bring that.
perhaps Justin can drop you an email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Justin, actually, it would be good as well if you guys can, if you really have any more questions, I would love to talk to you guys more as well to learn about AI analytics and what kind of software you guys use. Because I'm still very fresh as well as a AI engineer, and like I'm a software engineer actually developing full stack applications, but I'm actually learning a little bit here and there. And I hope you guys can contact me at Firma Technologies or LinkedIn as well. Great to connect so I can learn from you guys as well. I hope you guys learn a lot from Firma Technologies today. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, not.
So if there are no more questions, well, thank you very much, Lucas, for your presentation.
Yeah.
So for the rest of our audience, do get in touch with Lucas on his email if you have any further questions. And for those of you who are looking at attending our other webinars, do check out all the list of webinars that we have, the webinar schedule. I'm going to be flashing out a QR code that you can scan, and
Oh, I think I have to stop sharing.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So do join us in our other webinars in these 2 weeks. Do scan the QR code that you see here, and you'll be shown the list of schedules for all the webinars that we have coming up. With that, I'd like to thank Lucas for this presentation, and for the rest of our audience, have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys. Bye.